how are you tonight, Ted?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me here to Scotland, to Edinburgh. You guys live in paradise here.
How did you start barefoot running?
Well, that's a very good question. And you know, I think in reality, the real answer is that I started barefoot running around as a kid, you know. When I grew up, it wasn't that you wore running shoes everywhere you went. So I think my own personal journey as an adult was much later, but connected to the fact that when I grew up as a kid, I ran everywhere. We ran in Southern California everywhere barefoot. It was very normal. So when I tried to solve the problem of running for myself, and I tried everything, all the shoes, and finally realized that it might be some other style other than these shoes, and did some investigating. Am I answering that? This doesn't sound right to me.
Here's the question. Yes, how did you start barefoot running?
Well, I started barefoot running by taking off my shoes.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
That is the answer we were looking for.
Yes.
Now that, as you can see, that's proper naked running.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no messing around now. You took off your shoes. Brilliant.
Yes.
So what on earth makes you, what do you think made you become the main front man for barefoot running?
Well, that's an easy one, because what I think happened is my own personal self-experimentation, which ended up working for me. It ended up becoming the tool that allowed me to find the form, the natural running form, that allowed me to start actually running in a way that was, instead of breaking down from running, you know, the absurdity of thinking if a fish swims in its natural form, it doesn't break down from swimming. If a bird flies in its natural form, it doesn't break down from flying. Indeed, what I found is by learning how to find the natural form of running, and for me that meant literally barefoot, because at the time there was no footwear that was mimicking this, that allowed me to start running, so that instead of running being something that was breaking me down by doing it, more properly, when you learn how to run well naturally, by running you become better at running. So that was really, I think that experience getting captured by McDougall, of course, in the book Born to Run. In other words, by
no, hang on a second. You mentioned that book, Born to Run.
Yes, sir.
Now, yeah, Chris McDougall. He's. Do you think he has a lot to answer for?
Yes, I think that the fact that I was, of course, having my self-experimentation that was working for me, and I was getting to be a better runner, and I was able to run more and more without injuring myself, and then going down and being part of that crazy wild crew of people that were part of the first 2006 experience down there during the Copper Canyon Ultra Marathon. McDougall's ability to write about that story, and then of course when he was writing that book, one of his first goals, was, he told me, was to prove that I was wrong, that this idea of being more minimalistic or running barefoot was actually the solution. And the more he researched it to find out that I must be wrong, the more he ended up becoming the greatest apologist for the idea that barefooting or natural running is the ideal way to go than anyone else.
So would it be fair to say that he would be the inspiration for you to continue in your quest and in being this kind of global icon?
Well, I don't think he was the inspiration, but what he did is, by writing that book, and that book becoming so popular, I became a symbol and an inspiration for a lot of other people to play around with this idea that maybe human beings are perfectly capable of running well if they could just find what that natural form was. And I think that thankfully, because of him and because of his book and his willingness to take the time to write a good book and introduce me and my ideas to the world, I think that's changed a lot of people's experience. And running for the first time for many people has been something that's enjoyable and they're getting better at rather than breaking down.
There's a big sort of surge towards minimalism in the running shoe market at the moment. Where do you think this might be going? Have you got any ideas on that one?
Well, you know, of course, I am lucky enough to have had the opportunity to literally be at the very beginning, in some sense, of the minimalist running shoe craze. Literally, I was the first person to tell Vibram, the Five Finger guys, that they might have created a really great running shoe. They were not prepared to hear that message. Now, in my own experience, I really don't know how it's going to play out. Obviously, footwear that comes closer to allowing the foot to be a foot is going to be better for everyone than shoes that try to make it become something that it's not. My own company, Luna Sandals, is trying to keep alive older, you know, it's running different tools in the toolbox. There might be different purposes and so forth. So I think the expansion and the continued experimentation of shoe companies and people to find tools that they can use to do different things, I say let 1,000 flowers bloom. Who knows what's going to happen, but certainly the shoes that are closer to helping us run in a natural form are going to be better than not.
Do you see it ever catching up, or do you think that the manufactured market will always have the lead in the field, or do you think natural running will come back for everybody eventually?
Oh, it seems to me that there's absolutely no doubt that the future of running footwear, and pretty much all footwear for that matter, will never be the same. The book Born to Run was an incredible spark. I mean, I'm personal friends with people. I'm personal friends, for example, with one of the lead designers at Nike. All of these people will never be the same. They'll never be able to pretend that somehow the foot needs to be completely changed from its natural functioning form. They're going to find out ways, though, to maybe help people make the transition, perhaps. Maybe performance shoes that'll help people run at higher speeds and different, you know. But the fact of the matter is, Born to Run and the insights from that book has changed the industry forever. And I believe over time, it's already pretty clear in the United States that footwear as more and more people get educated, you know, in other words, shoe companies are going to sell shoes to people who buy shoes. So, you know, companies that are selling, I don't know, cigarettes are going to keep selling cigarettes until people stop buying them. But in the long run, more and more people will probably choose to go with natural running shoes than the big.
This is very refreshing
to hear.
It's been an honor,
and thank you for having me.